Imagine seeing a man in full military uniform getting slammed to the ground like a criminal just because of the color of his skin. What if the call he made didn't just clear his name, but exposed a chain of corruption reaching all the way to the top? This story will stun you, anger you, and ultimately leave you with hope. Stay with us till the end, and if this shakes you like it shook that whole town, hit that subscribe button now and share the truth. It was supposed to be a simple stop for gas and a drink after a long drive from Fort Bragg. Staff Sergeant Malcolm Reese, a highly decorated black Army Ranger who had just returned from his 5th deployment, pulled into a gas station on the edge of a small town in Georgia. Dressed in his crisp camouflage uniform, boots polished, chest full of ribbons, he looked every bit the American hero. But to the pair of local officers watching from their squad car, he didn't look like a hero at all. He looked suspicious. As Malcolm walked toward the station, the officers exited their vehicles slowly, hands already near their belts. A white woman, the store clerk, had just finished a frantic 911 call saying there was a dangerous-looking black man in military gear acting strange near the pumps. All Malcolm had done was stand by his car, checking his phone. But perception in that town was truth. "Sir, hands where we can see them," barked Officer Turner as his partner, Officer Mills, flanked Malcolm's side. "Is there a problem, officers?" Malcolm asked calmly, setting down his phone and raising his hands. "We'll ask the questions," Turner snapped, drawing closer. "This uniform doesn't make you immune." "Where'd you get it?" "I earned it," Malcolm replied, his jaw tightening. "My ID's in my front pocket." But Turner didn't want to hear it. In seconds, both officers were on him, twisting his arms, pushing him against the concrete as his ribbons scattered on the pavement like fallen leaves. Witnesses pulled out phones, but no one intervened. "You're under arrest for impersonating a federal officer," Mills growled, snapping on the cuffs. "You picked the wrong town to play dress-up, boy." The station manager watched, unbothered, even smirking. Malcolm, bruised and humiliated, said nothing except for 4 words that would flip their world upside down. "I want 1K in the quiet, grim booking room of the local precinct." Malcolm sat on the cold steel bench, wrists sore, dignity battered. His name had already been run through the system clean record. Real ID, military credentials checked out, but the officers still didn't let him go. "We'll see if the Army wants to confirm your little Halloween costume," Turner sneered. Malcolm was quiet, but the fire in his eyes had grown. "I want my one call." Turner rolled his eyes. "Phone's right there. Make it quick." Malcolm dialed a number by heart. The officers weren't paying attention. They should have. "Major General Prescott," Malcolm said with calm precision. "This is Staff Sergeant Malcolm Reese. I've just been arrested for impersonation while in uniform by 2 local officers again. We're in Harrison County, Georgia, booking room." There was a long pause on the other end. Then came the unmistakable thunder. "They did what?" The general barked so loudly, even Turner froze. "Sit tight, Sergeant. They'll be out of there in 15 minutes, and they won't know what hit them." Within the hour, black SUVs with government plates screeched up to the precinct. 2 federal military officers, one a high-ranking JAG lawyer, marched in with full authority. "You will release Staff Sergeant Reese immediately," one said, flashing credentials. "Any resistance will be treated as obstruction of federal justice." The sheriff tried to push back until the second officer handed over a folder. Inside were not only Malcolm's validated military records, but several photos of him with the president in Afghanistan during medal ceremonies, and even footage from classified operations. And, added the JAG, "We are opening a federal investigation into civil rights violations and unlawful detainment of an active duty soldier." Officers Turner and Mills paled. But this wasn't just about Malcolm anymore. "You picked "The wrong soldier," the JAG said coldly. "And you'll regret every second of it, LL." The video of Malcolm's arrest, filmed by a teen at the gas station, hit social media like a thunderclap. Within 12 hours, it had over 10 million views on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. The hashtags trended worldwide. Hashtag Justice for Sergeant Reese. Hashtag Arrested in Uniform. Hashtag Hero Not Threat. Public fury boiled over. The Army issued a public statement supporting Malcolm and condemning the treatment of soldiers of color in their own country. Celebrities began speaking out. News anchors grilled the mayor of Harrison County live on air. And behind the scenes, things were getting even worse for Turner and Mills. An internal affairs probe revealed that this wasn't the first incident. They had a history of racial profiling complaints. All conveniently dismissed or settled quietly, but it didn't stop there. Malcolm had kept notes over the years, times he'd been questioned, followed, doubted while in uniform. That folder ended up in the hands of federal investigators and civil rights lawyers. A class action lawsuit was filed. The sheriff resigned. Under pressure, the police chief was suspended. And suddenly, Malcolm Reese, the quiet warrior, the disciplined ranger, became a symbol. Interviews flooded in. Offers to write a book. He declined them all. "This isn't about me," he said on national TV. "This is about every black soldier who saluted the flag, fought for this country, and still gets treated like a criminal when they come home." The most viral clip of all wasn't the arrested, was Malcolm, in uniform, standing before a crowd, holding a folded flag. "I didn't fight overseas just to come back and fight my own people in uniform, but I will, because it's my duty." Department of Justice launched a broader investigation into Harrison County's policing practices. What they found was staggering: decades of misconduct, buried reports, discriminatory traffic stops, doctored body cam footage, and illegal detainments disproportionately targeting black residents. Malcolm's arrest became the domino that knocked the rest down. Turner and Mills were fired, indicted, and facing trial. But Malcolm didn't celebrate. He met quietly with young cadets, visited inner-city schools in uniform, stood beside mothers who had lost their sons to racial injustice. He started the Uniformed Equality Foundation, aimed at training officers on implicit bias and supporting veterans who experienced discrimination. Donations poured in. Within a year, Malcolm stood in Washington, D.C. beside lawmakers as a Build the Reese Act was introduced, demanding mandatory federal review of local police departments that profile service members of color. And back in Harrison County, the gas station that once stood as a symbol of racism was sold, rebuilt, and reopened as a community center named Reese Hall for those who serve. One call, one moment, one man's dignity. It shattered a corrupt system, but in the wreckage, something better rose. And for those officers who thought their small-town power made them invincible, they learned the hard way. You never know who you're putting in cuffs. Sometimes it's the very hero who swore to protect your freedom. So the next time you see a uniform look again, you might just be staring at the storm that changes everything.